Hi, I'm Lori Jones, President and CEO of Avasec Communications and host of StrategyCast. Join me and my guests, innovators, disruptors, and visionaries as we explored bold and brave marketing strategies that help you transform, scale, and grow your brand. We've got a special guest on the show today, John Rood, the marketing guru who's conquered the strategies of big brands and startups alike, is diving deep into the ever-shifting marketing landscape. We'll uncover the secrets of impactful storytelling, navigating economic curveballs, and the future of AI in marketing. From Super Bowl ads to personalized experiences, we're breaking it all down. And don't forget to check out the most recent issue of the StrategyFirst Newsletter on StrategyCast.com. Just like this episode, it's full of inspiration and a ton of ideas that will elevate your strategies and marketing know-how.
A competitive edge starts with strategy, and strategy starts with knowing how to develop one. StrategyCast is a leading marketing podcast that serves up strategic insights, trends, and tips to help separate your business from the pack. Tune in weekly as host Lori Jones interviews bold marketing leaders who have priceless wisdom and are willing to share. Each episode explores cutting-edge approaches that have proven instrumental in transforming brands into industry trailblazers.
Welcome to StrategyCast. I am so excited to have John Rood join the show today. Hello.
How's it going, Lori?
Oh my gosh. Oh, I tell you, I'm awesome. You're awesome. It is a good day. Should I say it's like a great Disney day?
It's a great Disney day. That's right. There's no bad Disney days, so they say, unless you've looked at our stock price lately.
Oh, we're not going to go down that path. I have been a Disney fan for many, many years. And of course, that's where you got your feet wet. And then now you're in this incredible startup tech space. Tell us a little bit more about your background and
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. The StrategyCast listeners know you get a lot of great business leaders on here. And I don't know if you have one quite as schizophrenic as I am. I say that respectfully. I've just had a career that's really tried to vacillate between the two hemispheres of the brain. You know, I like those executives that speak Mandarin and Cantonese. I speak neither. That's a metaphor. So I started out in undergrad arts and sciences, a liberal arts major at the University of Nebraska. So talk slower, Lori. And then I went to the University of Texas to get my MBA because, again, I had to run over to the other side of the boat, get some quantitative to go with my qualitative, get some legitimacy to my education by getting that MBA. Then when I was a marketing concentration major, I didn't like some of the soulless stuff that marketing students were doing or the jobs they were going to go into, be a brand manager at Pizza Hut in Wichita, Kansas, and you're just doing pricing analysis. I found the only compelling, creative, joyous line of work in the marketing concentration after Austin was advertising. And at the time, I was a little afraid of New York. I wish I wasn't. And we implore our children not to be afraid of any city. So I chose Chicago as a third less murderous.
Second best.
Yeah. And a great advertising town. And I got in with the great advertising agency back then, Leo Burnett. And it had all the blue chips, Miller Beer and United Airlines and Procter and Gamble and McDonald's. And we just had the best time. And strategy was a function of the time allowed. I had some colleagues that worked on Kraft salad dressing that took 9 damn months to write strategy because that's how much time they had between their boring print campaigns.
Not crazy.
But we would drive up to Oak Brook for McDonald's or up to Milwaukee for Miller and had that car drive to write strategy. And I
love it.
I prefer that. I have low attention span. So I liked the zeal and the velocity of working for that type of dynamic client back then. Work would take me out to California, and for production shoots, I was Pete Campbell. If you like Mad Men, I was that bag carrier.
Yeah.
But I got to do it at the Four Seasons in LA. This isn't too bad. And then I fell in love with the studio.
Hey, how it was, right?
Back then, it was the last day of Mad Men. Misogyny and cirrhosis and all of it. But we had fun, and so we worked hard and played hard. And California enlightened me to the opportunity to work at a Hollywood studio. I was like, man, I don't care if I push a broom. I'm going to work at this studio for a year or two, and then I'll return to Chicago and get the marriage and the mortgage and the country club membership and go back to Burnett. And 30 years later, here I am still in Los Angeles.
Well, I tell you, and it's great. It's been a great ride. And one of the things that interested me in having you on this show is the big brand experience and really how that translates to the smaller brands in the startup community. And there is so much value there when it comes to really being able to decipher the right approach with much smaller teams. And far less money. What is the biggest surprise to you between those two different worlds?
Yeah, it's a great point. So 15 years at Disney and 10 years at Warner Brothers, and then those blue chip clients at the agency, I was used to larger awareness or more capital, more investment dollars to the marketing imperative. And then certainly now with my consulting clients, I work with startups that you guys have not heard of. Mm-hmm. And so I like that everything is essentially the same blocking and tackling. If you are a marketing student, you got to go in there like a marketing scientist with some objectivity. Otherwise, it's just going to be a subjective argument. Should we do pink or should we do fuchsia? And the one with the bigger office is going to win that argument every time. So trying to look at it like not a surgeon, but as a scientist and saying, what are the sheer essence of the issues here that makes big and small not necessarily matter? Now, I will tell you at Disney in particular, especially with the quarterly profit imperative that has made things so very crazy in Hollywood with merging and purging and centralization and the move to streaming and all of it, we've had to be scrappier. I never felt like I was working at a company of 240,000 employees, as it were. It really felt like a team of 100. And that's still a large team, of course. But we were fighting for every nickel, and so I'm used to being resourceful, and I ask your listeners to do the same. Treat every dollar like it's your own. Argue with, again, somber, sober, cautious science about it, saying, is this the best spend of our next dollar? And do you have the KPI to tell the naysayers or the doubters over in the finance department that this is a marketing investment, not a marketing expense? So sometimes the money is at the Disney corporate coffers, and sometimes the money is at the venture capital firm that's suspicious of this little startup. But the same thing is true. We're all in sales now. We are all in business development now. Sometimes it's external fundraising. Again, sometimes it's just convincing your internal colleagues, but you have to be good at arguing wisely and appropriately for what you want as a marketer.
Yeah, it's so interesting. This agency, we've been in business since 1980. We've had, we're a boutique integrated communications firm. Lots and lots of strategy work, as you know. And the economic downturns, COVID, every recession that we've had, every little blip on the radar, I think has made us stronger business people and stronger marketers, because we do have less and that we've got to do more with. In the early days of Leo Burnett and even with Disney, money was one of the big drivers. You were able to throw a lot of money at all of that. It's just not that way anymore.
No, it isn't. And it's sound that it shouldn't be. It's just the problem is we all got into marketing because we didn't like accounting or we didn't like sales.
We just wanted to spend it.
We just wanted to spend it. And we just wanted to be heard. So going into marketing and becoming a listener is tough for some people as well. So notice how we're getting to things in today's conversation that's nearly the polar opposite of something just 30 years ago.
Right.
If marketing used to be about the blast and the offense, and now it's about the receptivity and the listening and making things particularly distinct and special for Lori versus John.
Right.
Now, in the case of your agency, and bless your heart, it's a crazy good agency, and I encourage listeners to employ y'all. And you can do it now in the information age. You don't have to be down the street in Colorado, although you need to do a business trip any of the 4 times of the year to visit wonderful Colorado. Anyway.
Always Vail and Aspen.
Hell yeah. I'm 6 lottery numbers away from those places.
You and I both, brother.
Yeah. But your agency has pivoted. And so that comes from your leadership saying, hey, we've been met with some headwinds.
Right.
How are we going to sail towards our lodestars? Those lodestars still matter. We just have to now take a different tack or a jibe in light of that distinct new winds or weather. And to your credit, again, you've said, what is the solution here for my agency and for my clients when there is a curveball or a downturn or whatever the inevitable things are? Now, it's both frenetic and crazy, but also maybe reassuring that these cycles are more frequent than they used to be. A cycle of economic downturn, hiring and firing, at least in the case of the Hollywood studios, used to be decades in the
Right.
making, decades in the
Yeah.
making. And now they are literally quarters, where 3 months from now, the same studio or soulless media conglomerate that had been firing folks left and right or writing off content or, concentrating their efforts will now go back to abundance. And so can you roll with that? And can you take, this too shall pass, the good and the bad times, this too shall pass. And so the good agency folks like yourself, the good client folks like me, learn to roll with it.
Yeah, you definitely do. And that is where we're going to really begin the topic for today's discussion is getting into the old versus new marketing expectations and the strategic development that either leads or follows. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, it unfortunately sometimes it does follow. But we've teed up why. I mean, it's the paradigm shifts, it's all of this, but really your history, your background in marketing, you had this aha moment of the old versus new.
Yeah.
Tee this idea up for us.
Sure, sure. Yeah, it's really was an aha moment that, of course, it was 30 years of a career in the making. But I began to understand that while, yes, of course, there still is a box of tried and true marketing tactics or approaches that one should take and learn, a lot of the stuff about U.S. marketing was out the window, and it was actually liberating for the marketing executive to see it as the polar opposite.
Right.
I'm going to have a cheat sheet I'm working off here, but I'm trying to make a distinction between the old and the new. And for your viewers, you can tell I'm male, pale, and stale. So I had to innovate or die, literally, and I had to figure out the right way to bring business in as marketing. And then again, just that idea, you touched upon it, Lori, it used to not be the concern of us in advertising or in the marketing department, how the bills were paid.
Right.
And because maybe companies are getting more nimble or executives are asked to be more hyphenate, where they work in a bunch of different disciplines, or just this new idea of empathy, this idea accelerated by the information age, you have to think about biz dev. You have to think about the revenue imperative. You have to think about sales. So again, go back to the old Kotler, right? Philip Kotler, father of modern marketing. He had a four-legged table of a definition regarding marketing. Is creating value by satisfying the needs of a particular target audience at a profit.
Mm.
And most of us ran to those first three table legs and neglected this idea of profit. It was very enlightening to see me become myself a marketer that was as worried about the bottom line and the ROI as the CFO herself was. And that was disarming because sometimes they come at you suspicious of marketing and ready to cut all your budget. But if you give them an empathy and say, hey, I care about this too, that profit is everything. And there's that more of a distinct relationship between the sales and marketing imperative, then they're less difficult to work with.
Well, and if you think about it, we created the problem for ourselves, right?
Yeah.
I mean, looking at it as a cost center, I mean, there were so many marketers out there that were spending money in very, very frivolous manners.
That's right.
And quite, dare I say, the media partners as well. I mean,
sure.
the days of those big multinational trips because you spend a certain amount of money with a station in a lot of markets are long gone. And the frivolous nature of it all, I think, really positions us that way. And dare I say, it's probably one of the reasons that there are less board seats for CMOs today than there has been because of that reputation, which I do believe that we've definitely moved beyond.
Yeah.
But it's just a matter of instilling trust as an industry in the boardroom again.
Absolutely, Lori. You're absolutely on top of it. We've met the enemy and he is us, right? That old line
Right.
from Pogo. And so who's to be surprised that the tenure of a CMO is ever reduced?
Mhm.
And who's to be surprised that someone might finally look askew at your boondoggle trips to CES or South by or Davos or all these places where marketers think they need to go and self-promote? And I like and respect the marketers in our space that are good at marketing themselves, but you notice they sometimes forget to market their client or market their employer. And
Yeah,
so,
I
yeah,
agree.
we brought this on ourselves, and again, we would have it no other way. We still don't want to run over to accounting, and we still like that everyone wants to weigh in on ideas for marketing. It's a higher profile, higher interest, sexier, dare I say, line of work. And so for those of us that still get a kick out of it and still couldn't imagine doing anything else, then you have to now temper yourselves against the new pressures.
Yeah.
All
And I'm
right.
34 years in, and I love it still to this day. My
Well,
father said to me very, very early on, that the day that you stop loving what you're doing is the day you need to switch what you're doing. And I've had maybe a handful, well, I've had a lot of very bad days, but a handful of bad enough situations that I thought, I don't like this client, or this is not worth it. What the product is not going to work in the market. You can only put so much lipstick on a pig without a budget to get it to market. Just these situations that agency people and the internal marketing teams are really set up to fail with. Those are probably the biggest situations that I have said to myself, "Ugh, I don't know if it's worth it."
Oh, yeah. Well, again, in the information age, your inbox is now full of knuckleheads, and
Yeah.
there's folks that either tire or inspire, and everyone's got an opinion. And again, we don't have an opinion about the prospectus or the 10Q. We have an opinion about the marketing campaign. We have an
Right.
opinion. Anyone with
Everyone becomes a marketer.
with their phone, they all think they're social media experts. And
Right.
the thing that really pisses me off, I guess, would be the absence of patience.
Mhm.
Hey, build a funnel, and how are we doing on that funnel? It's like, whoa, a funnel is a very major endeavor, and it's not going to see any overnight results. It's the same type of short-sightedness and impatience you'll get from knuckleheads that say stuff like, well, put it on the YouTube so it'll go viral, and just
Right.
other impossibilities. Were it that simple, you idiot.
Okay, old versus new. Why?
Yeah.
Yeah, where and why are marketers getting stuck with this?
We're coming up on the season of the grandest of old marketing, which is the Super Bowl ad. And it's just a big atom bomb. And we're so certain that that's going to work for any brand. And boy, you just go back to the years of brands that are already dead that thought that a Super Bowl would solve all their ills.
Right.
And I just hate the idea that marketing is the Super Bowl and Super Bowl is marketing, and the bombast of it. Very few brands beyond your Doritos should bother with that ROI or absence of ROI.
Or a lucky one-hit wonder.
But again, then what? You have
Yeah.
to now create an
You have to
ecosystem.
sustain it. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to sustain it with a robust, dare I say, for lack of better cliche, transmedia plan where there is a PR program that tees up the ad, or that there's a lot of content, meta content, right? Stories about stories being captured on set of that ad. So it amplifies long after that one day in February.
Right.
But I just noticed that, boy, everyone thought that was such a good idea. And to this day, we still love the big, loud, sexy thing. Everyone thinks Barbie is going to revitalize cinema marketing. And it's just, with all respect to Barbie, any knucklehead could have done it. Give me a Pantone color, give me a single name that's eponymous and that everyone's heard of. Give me the cast and crew that you've got. I don't hold it up as great marketing, even though if it brought more people into the theaters, great. But again, the loudness of that or the singularity of it just reminded me that marketing is quite the opposite. Let me go through all these combinations. Now, I'll start with a very confusing metaphor. I liken it to the old marketing is a lighthouse
Mm-hmm.
and new marketing is a gametophyte. And I don't know botany. I don't know what the hell a gametophyte is. I
don't either, by the way.
I looked it up to say it's that little piece of pollen that helps a kind of botanal floral transaction occur. And it is microscopic and it's minuscule and it blows with the wind, but it's sticky. And in success, it has what Gladwell called a geometric progression, like
Right. I'm
you know,
following you.
right? And I like it because it couldn't be less like a freaking lighthouse.
Right.
A lighthouse is staid and immobile and lunar and loud. And tomorrow's marketing has to be everything but that, where you are, again, flexible and dynamic and personalized and global. And so let's go through these distinctions. If the engagement of old marketing was the selling proposition, the engagement of new marketing is the brand promise. And notice how very distinct that is. One is look how great we are, and the other one is look how great you can be.
Right.
As mentioned.
Quick question regarding that.
Yeah.
So the buyer mindset has changed.
Yeah.
Buyer need has changed. So have they changed it, or has marketing changed it?
Yeah, it's a great question. Well, they're again back to the information age. I'm sorry if there's a drinking game every time I say information age, but the idea that I can have a very distinct experience on Delta Airlines than you can, and that's not too new an idea, or it's even too old an idea. It's a very new idea. We used to just be both within the 18 to 49 demo. That's as specific as it got. So new marketing has to go beyond demographics into psychographics, behavior graphics, and now we have to get into need states. Why is Lori traveling that's distinct from John, and that soft science of it all? It's fascinating, but then worse yet, marketers, you have to do it times a gazillion, however many customers and potential customers you have. A Super Bowl ad is one size fits all, right? It's a big ass hammer, like it or lump it.
A unicorn.
A unicorn, yeah. But
Yes.
now you have to make a very different unicorn for anyone who wants a unicorn. And that's a very daunting task for tomorrow's marketer. Okay, so the metaphors again, ivory tower, lighthouse, one blunt A-bomb. And now the contrast in new marketing, gametophytes, grassroots, individual hugs. That's very, that's nothing like a Super Bowl ad. And if the focus was on us, now the focus is on you, the consumer, because it has to be. And so it's people first. And it's going to be like, we all have our reasons was a great line from the embattled Peloton brand, or Uber Eats saying tonight I'll be having. That's a very specialized, unique kind of thing. And it's not Uber Eats beating their chest. Now, of course, you have to register brand recall and do all sorts of things, again, in the box thinking, but make it about that consumer experience as well. And past tense was the old way. For 75 years, we have been the leader in fra. And now it's going to be a future promise. You are going to love this.
Right.
Very, very distinct, polar opposite. The force was push. Now the force is pull, then push. The participants were few. And now there's all of us. Anyone could be a movie maker now. Congratulations. You don't have to go to Hollywood. There's no silver nitrate cans of film you have to procure, or lighting or cameras, or that's all on your laptop now or on your phone. So welcome to the creator economy, where anyone can be Hollywood per se.
Well, and technology is the culprit here, right? Technology and talk about channel development, the multitude of channels out there right now that we have at our fingertips, in our palms, in our control at any point in time. And that is why this shift is so vitally important.
Yeah. And again, I used to think that there were only a few boxes of the 16 Myers-Briggs personalities that would work in marketing. And now we need all 16 boxes. We need all God's children. We need introverts. We need scientists. We need folks that can take every individual through the experience or down the funnel, whatever that path is. And again, very distinct, one to another times a million.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's less arrogant than it used to be. It has to be honest. It has to be empathetic.
Right.
And even the KPI used to be self-referential, right? CPM, that's just, what is that? Passing attempts? That's hardly a good stat to have for the modern quarterback. Now, the KPI for new marketing is the completions or the final score, or those real data points that matter, like CTR, CRM, ROI, sales, of course, revenue. These are new things that yesterday's marketer did not have to worry about.
Let's go back to authenticity and trust for a minute. That truly is a paradigm shift, and it's hard for me to believe that it is, because we would like to believe that there always has been quote unquote truth in advertising, but it's how we've strategically shifted it in the mindset of the buyer so that they can attach themselves and want to be a part of that brand. Talk to us a little bit about how brands go about creating that today and the strategic impetus behind it.
Yeah, the impetus would be, again, concentration on the individual aided by tech. And it was, again, not too long ago where that just was not necessary. There'd be, we'll tell you what to watch. We'll put it on prime time.
And
Like,
you go by.
yeah, and
Yeah.
you're gonna like it or you won't. We really don't care because you're just a demo. You're not even an individual to us. You just fall within this giant soulless demographic. Now, again, through psychographic, behavior graphic need states, you have to go in with research, 24/7 research, not quarterly focus groups. We're talking ears wide open at all times. And then the danger, of course, is how you overreact to all those data points.
Right.
You go any hotel or restaurant that you like, you'll see a review that says, we had an amazing experience. The chef was wonderful. The food was perfect, but the salt shaker was half full, 1 star. And you're like, what the hell? How did you shit on this brand that you were just telling me that you loved? And so the marketer needs to not fire the agency because of the 1-star review, but dig in beneath that. What's behind that person saying that? They just want to be heard? Or what is the response to that mixed message of a review? Again, aided by technology.
Is perfection achievable?
No, it's not. And the honesty and empathy means vulnerability as well. Hey,
Right.
we F up once in a while. Thank you for being with us. Now, of course, the reactive and Karen-esque consumer is going to want value immediately when there is that screw up. But again, you'll go poor giving people exactly what they want or tell you that they need. You have to kind of hold your ground and say, wait, we're sorry, we're trying. But honesty and empathy is the new expectation. And I actually think that's a good thing. We're getting to a place of mindfulness. We're getting to a place where there are other things to consider besides here we are.
Right.
Interbrand is a great agency in the Omnicom group that had done a cool study of the kind of eras of marketing. It used to be identity, like a Coca-Cola bottle. That dynamic ribbon and shape of the bottle will distinguish it from all the sarsaparilla. And that's all you need for marketing is branding, is just this identity. Then you'd get into value, the next phase. Around the turn of the previous century, a certain retailer in Bentonville, Arkansas, or anyone else that could try to distinguish themselves about the value they provide, in their case, everyday low prices. That wasn't enough now. You had this mass production, the digital age approaches. You've been marketing about identity. You've been marketing about value. Now you have to make it about experience, right? So Just Do It was never about the shoes. And if a focus group was left to name Nike, they would have called it performance tech or some stupid attribute, self-referential driven brand. So this winged goddess of flight, Just Do It as an attitude, Nike Town is a resort experience. This was all a very recent idea moving into the digital age to the customization. You can pivot more quickly as a brand offering. And again, your shoe experience is different than mine. Finally, again, when we're getting towards need states, this is going to be about the individual. What's in it for me? And that is the entire opposite of back in the days of selling Coca-Cola or next month's Super Bowl ad. It's nothing about what's in it for me. And the good marketers, big or small, B2C or B2B, blessed with a lot of resources or none at all, have to go in empathetic, ears wide open. What is in it for that individual?
You know, it's interesting, and we have some enterprise clients and worked with some very, very large multinational brands. In some situations, international. And then we've got this niche of a lot of funded startup as well. And it does not matter from my point of view. We still have got to change the mindset of marketers regarding talking about me, talking about what I do and how I do it versus getting, that why into the mix on why it's important, how this can benefit you. It's the old features and benefits scenario that we've been talking about since the dawn of marketing, and people still get stuck on features and what it does instead of how it benefits and what you can expect. Why? And I do think it's more in the startup arena.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, there's a great impatience, and a lot of folks got into startup because they didn't have the personality or gravitas, or even the kind of the mental makeup to work in a corporate setting. You got a lot of folks, the entrepreneur, the serial entrepreneur doesn't like playing by rules,
Right.
and doesn't like setting goals, and doesn't like collaborating, and doesn't like protocol, and doesn't like acting like a grown-up. And again, bless them, there's, great romance associated with the billionaire entrepreneur. Conversely, of course, the curse of the anti-entrepreneur, the corporate wonk, is that you're on a hamster wheel. Instead of the torture of pushing a boulder up a hill, you're on this hamster wheel, and it can get rather soulless, or it can lack innovation. So everyone runs towards marketing because it's sexy, or they run towards marketing because they've enjoyed it in the past. Oh, I like that blimp. We should do a blimp. Okay, whether you're an intern or the CMO, you have to disarm that stupid thought of theirs about the blimp. And the only way to do it is to go back to the science of marketing.
Right.
This is called StrategyCast. So let's break it down. This is one person's nomenclature. Your results may vary. The objective is the destination.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want to get to? Where do you end by when? The measurable destination. Amarillo by morning. And you and your client, or you and your CFO, or you and your intern, you all have to be on the same page. And that should be for all to see. This is what success looks like. We need to be here by this date. Measurable, achievable, believable, conceivable, measurable, stated with no alternative, all the things we've learned about with goal setting. That's the objective. Strategy is the road or roads towards that destination. Route 66, or we're going to be targeting women 15 to 34, and they are of this particular mindset, and they are particular need state, and this particular psychographic. And you're getting into who exactly you're going after. What road are you taking towards that measurable destination? And there can be more than one, but it has to be very clear. Right there, you would be able to disarm some knucklehead that comes into your cube and says, let's do a blimp.
Mm-hmm.
You could say, okay, hey, blimps are great. I love blimps, but we're going to have a lot of spillage, aren't we? There's going to be a lot of non-females 15 to 34 who see that blimp, and our money's ostensibly wasted that way. Let's talk instead about this activation with the cosmetic company or whatever seems more targeted.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, tactics, right? And for me, the tactic is the vehicle on the road to the destination. Little Red Corvette on Route 66, Amarillo by morning. And the difference between a tactic and a strategy is that tactics cost money.
Right.
And so tactics are things. And so someone comes and says, again, the blimp, you'll say, hey, one, blimp's awfully expensive. Two, I don't know that I can justify ROI against that expenditure. And more importantly, it doesn't seem on brand to me or on strategy, because we've decided to target this region or this type of consumer. And so you can use that marketing science instead of saying yes, blimp, no blimp, and arguing with somebody several pay grades above you. Take it objectively, devoid of emotion, back to this tactics, strategy, objective discussion.
Yeah, I love it. It's interesting. We talk a lot in our strategic development. Are we challenging someone, or are we challenging something? And this is really where you can get into the mindset of differentiation, of strong positioning, to really set the brand up to succeed in the eye of the beholder, right? That customer. Why is it that people and brand marketers try to be all things to all people, and that sea of sameness, that sea of self-righteousness, quite frankly, is alive and well? And they're doing nothing to really impact.
Well, it's funny. Yeah, we thought we're going into this line of work because of its innovation or its creativity. And, and go no further than your streaming service or your Cineplex to notice that the only ism Hollywood believes in is plagiarism, right? We're gonna have derivative shows, or we're gonna have derivative movies or sequels or things that are statistically they return better. And again, the bean counter is now running Hollywood, is why a sequel or a certain A-list actor keeps getting work. So that's actually the opposite of innovation. Not to mention the concentration of all these streaming platforms or studios, that the merge purge of it all is going to take away tomorrow's great storytellers. And you're going to find those great storytellers on alternate platforms like YouTube or TikTok or anywhere but Hollywood per se. Back to your question about the sea of sameness. I just think people don't think their knee-jerk response as they run towards the tactical, saying, oh, we should do a wine and cheese event because our competitor did a wine and cheese event. And you're like, well, let's break this down. Why?
Yeah.
What does success look like? You want
Well, and I love it when our brand competitors do stupid things like that. And that's what my response would be, is let them be stupid.
Yeah,
You know, it
absolutely.
only helps our brand position.
Oh, that's such a great way to put it, because
Yeah.
this is as old as Ogilvy, right? The consumer's idea of the product. That's the definition of brand. So how do you want them to talk about you in 3 months? That's a kind of soul to soul discussion that I know you have with your clients, or the CMO needs to have with the CEO. And you sit her down and say, what does success look like here? I'm
Mm.
not going to be able to build you a funnel week from Thursday. I am sorry to break your heart that way. Nor do I think we're going to have a gazillion likes and a gazillion followers a week from Thursday either. So I don't want to burst your bubble here, but let's talk about crawl, walk, run. Let's talk about the measure of a month well spent, a quarter well spent, a year well spent.
Right.
And it's not a contract that's I told you so when shit doesn't quite measure up, but it's just a little bit of clarity, a little bit of honesty, a little bit of empathy about, hey, we're not going to change the world overnight, but we're going to make some wonderful steps along the way and find some apostles as we crawl, walk, run.
Well, and test and scale is really what you're looking at here. And, back to the C-suite and making sure, I mean, we've got OKRs and KPIs for campaigns left and right, but half the battle is making sure that the C-suite is on board with those and understands that the one-hit wonders don't necessarily sustain, and you can't really grow with them. I can't remember what the brand was, but I heard years ago, not too long ago, 6 or 7 years ago, that there was a big omni-channel brand, and they invested $10 million into 10 different viral social media campaigns, $1 million each, because they knew one would hit, and it would completely, take the market by storm. And it did. And I'm really sorry, I can't remember what this was. But nonetheless, that investment, that conversation, can you imagine the conversation at the time with the C-suite? Obviously, big budget, but and the ROI was there, but they needed to do it 10 times in order to get one to work.
Yeah, investment is loosely defined here because, of course, it's just a gamble where
It is.
you are throwing spaghetti against the wall. It sounds like they found 10 bowls of spaghetti and 10 walls because they could. Now, of course, the irony is the fact that you haven't remembered them.
Right. I know.
That's super important.
Is that bad?
No, there's your answer right
That's
there.
exactly it.
It doesn't
Well,
resonate.
And the virality that everyone asks for. I mean, luckily, I think it's waning a little bit. Everyone wanted virality 5, 6
That's
years
right.
ago.
Yeah.
And we've got to achieve it. It's next to impossible. I mean, it's the ones that are on the mobile phone that caught something and it just, spoke to them in that moment in time. That worked, not the
Yeah.
big budget.
Yeah, it's a great point. I do think, thank God, we are moving away from running to the side of the boat saying, get me a influencer or get me a million likes a week from Thursday. It's not realistic. It's not sustainable. It's not on brand. I suffer for that knucklehead if she crashes her car or he says something bad about Gaza. There's all sorts of ways that this can go wrong more than it can go right. And moreover, it's not true to the brand, the consumer's idea of the product. It's fleeting. It's flash in the pan. It's so momentary. It has no staying power like true brand marketing should.
Yeah, I agree. Who are some of your favorite brands that are really that are doing a great job in
Yeah.
all things considered?
When asked my favorite tagline, I say, get in the zone, AutoZone. And people laugh and they go, I'm like, shit, I'm serious. It says zone twice. No one thinks that's a Pep Boys trade ad. It's got a call to action. It's got all the boxes checked. So sometimes there are unsexy answers in a very sexy line of work that we've chosen. But I just think get in the zone, AutoZone does a lot of heavy lifting. I don't even know what it means, but I've never forgotten it. And it would break a tie if there were two auto parts places parked one next to the other. I know that's not the answer you're looking at, but I will tell you, folks, if you choose to say that Barbie's your favorite movie marketing, or absolute was your favorite campaign, or just do it was your favorite tagline. You better give me a compelling reason in the interview why that is the answer you choose.
You've got to prove it.
You got to prove it as a marketing science. Not like, I'm not sure why I like it. I just like it, of course, is no answer, but really talk to, hey, it spoke to me as a athletic wear user, or whatever the story is behind that. Now, speaking of stories, we're all in storytelling now. That's thankfully the new imperative in marketing, post virality, post influencers, to say, we have to be the storytellers. The stories are ours. They're not to be jobbed out to some knucklehead that lives in a mansion with a bunch of other knuckleheads. And so the one I like right now is Ancestry.com. They enacted a campaign back in the fall saying, hey, we got to do a better job of still doing product demos, still doing the bite and smile, or showing how the product works and transforms you with Ancestry. But they said, it's not just enough to learn who your great is. What is it now? What is living that, embodying that family means, or being carrying the torch for all those people that came before you. So I encourage your viewers to go to one of them. Wyden just did for Ancestry, called the Hughes family, and it's atypical by Hollywood standards family of cowboys, and they happen to be African American, and they also happen to have cowgirls, and they also happen to be in Illinois, not Texas, and just the kind of arresting nature of this shoot. And it wasn't performative or look how diverse we are. It was really just an earnest, humble, and honest story in the world of storytelling about what Ancestry.com allegedly did for the Hughes family. Yeah. And, because it's wide and it was beautifully shot, and and it's part of a campaign of 6 other families that just really kind of spoke to me. And again, it alone is not enough. You can't just get Publicis, who's their media agency, and Star, part of Starcom, or the Wyden folks, and then you spend all your money on this big sexy shoot and expect to win Clios, and that's the extent of it. They did a robust campaign with texts and social content and mailers, and it was really felt like an ecosystem, felt like a 360 arms around Lori, saying, hey, Lori, you might enjoy this experience born of these stories, 10 seconds in length, all the way up to 10 minutes in length. And I just appreciate how there's a great spot, but also a great campaign.
Well, and the realism behind it, truly real versus AI, which is a big topic right now.
Yeah.
I mean, we're even, there's a news channel that's all AI driven right now.
Right.
I mean, the anchors are not real.
Right.
It is unbelievable, not real versus real. What's going to happen with AI in the mix of all this?
Well, every year there's a buzz phrase or a TLA, we call them at Disney, 3-letter acronym. In this case, of course, it's just a 2-letter acronym, AI, or generative AI, GAI. But in the same way, Lori, you mentioned that you have faced adversity or curveballs or changes in the weather with your clients, and your clients to be by holding to what's true and by being accessible to them. And these are the same tools we have to bring into this scary new cloud called AI. Thankfully, those same bean counters and CFO types that think they know marketing, they're the ones that are going to get replaced by the robots more than you or I will. And so for job security, it's still good to be in storytelling, even if it's aided with this crazy new technology that can spit out a gazillion versions of a story that you've entered. One, you still have to enter that first prompt. And so the human aspect at the beginning and end of this process hasn't gone away.
Yeah.
What I don't understand is why universities or marketing firms or clients are going to want to stop this. You can't hold back the tide, but nor would you. Why would you want to? This is a wonderful new tool in your toolkit. So candidly, I've been surprised at some of the writers and art directors that have expressed concern about AI, whereas I thought they'd be the ones saying, hey, awesome. It's like a Adobe on steroids. Let's go. Let's have some fun with this new tool. So don't overreact to it too much, in it positively or negatively. I'd say that about any new development. Last year was Web3. This year's AI. Tomorrow is going to be goggles or whatever the new kind of individual brand experience is. And just have the answer ready. Be the in-house expert for the folks that want to know, what is our brand doing with AI? And then
kind of part of our contract now. And, do you want us to utilize AI or not? And then all sorts of different opportunities to use it. I mean, we're finding ourselves using it a lot with data analytics, strategic development, competitive analysis, comparative data, all those things that really help you get smarter about the brand and the audience. And then the creative impetus, the strategic output is still, a part of the Brainiac intelligence that is so important. It just is leading us in ways far more quickly than we thought ever possible. That drive up to Miller versus the 6 or 9 months to develop a strategic plan. Guess what? You can get it done pretty quick now.
Why exactly? Why wouldn't you want me to employ a turbocharger? But I love what you were saying just now about this is how I'm going to use it. It's like the force, right? There's a good and bad use for this new technology. But you tell your clients, hey, we just want to get smarter with it. We're not trying to find a new shade of fuchsia or create a robo customer service agent or something that seems creepy or sci-fi. We're doing it to access what's going to help us deliver on the brand promises more efficiently and save you money over time. And they'll have to appreciate how you're using it.
I tell you, John, this conversation has been fascinating. So much fun. So many let's walk down memory lane, insights, great comparables, and really so much motivation about where marketing is going and the importance of it. And a brand can't succeed without it. Final words for our audience before we have to say goodbye.
Yeah, so I'm again getting on the back end of my marketing career. I would say the back 9, but statistically, it's more like the last
back 20.
Back 3 holes.
Oh, okay, there you go.
The bar cart's gone. The sun is setting, but I still have a lot to do. And what's going to keep me vital as a marketer will be the same for your listeners at any age, and that to me is curiosity.
Love it.
All the things we were talking about today. Require somebody caring what the other brands are doing in the category, caring what the new tech is and how that might help my client, caring about why the CFO or somebody coming at you with another type of energy in the hallways is caring the way they care. That kind of that curiosity is going to carry you very far as an individual. I think that and good feet is what's going to take you into the 100 years. As a citizen, but also it's going to continue to make all of you guys on this great cast great marketers. So I wish you health and happiness, but also curiosity.
I tell you, John, it's just been an absolute pleasure. How can our audience get a hold of you?
Oh, thanks so much. I'm at LinkedIn. John Rood is my consultancy. Not nearly as big a scope or staffing as Lori's business, but I do marketing consultancy and I do gratis coaching just for the karma of it all. So find me on LinkedIn, send me your CV. I'll poop all over it and we'll get to some truth together. But it was a pleasure. I'm such a fan of you and your agency and this cast. You have taken your brand into all sorts of dimensions and scary ones. And I know your clients have only seen it as additive. So bravo to you, Lori. And I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Well, thank you so much, John, for your appearance on StrategyCast. And audience, you can go ahead and reach me at Lori@StrategyCast.com and also visit us at StrategyCast.com for lots of additional insights, newsletter signups, all sorts of stuff. Thank you, John. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Lori. Thank you, StrategyCast listeners.
That's a wrap. Thanks for joining us on today's show. We hope your strategic brains are spinning with new ideas and bold inspiration that will elevate your strategies and marketing know-how.